The following program presents principles designed to promote good health and is not intended to take the place of personalized professional care. The opinions and ideas expressed are those of the speaker. Viewers are encouraged to draw their own conclusions about the information presented.
Hello and welcome to Health for a Lifetime. I'm your host, Don McIntosh. We're glad that you're with us today. And we have a rare treat today. We have the leader of the North American Division of Seventh-day Adventists, the Health Ministries Director, DeWitt Williams. He's with us. He has a very busy schedule, and he is involved in training of many people around the world. We're glad you're with us today.
Good to be here, Don.
Around the world for several years when you were in the Health Ministries Department for the General Conference, but now more focusing on the North American Division, which is what? Canada and United States.
And Bermuda.
And Bermuda.
That's right.
And you do summits or training programs both in Orlando, I think, at the early part of the year, last part of January.
That's right.
And then out on the West Coast there in Portland or other places.
We do one in Portland in October.
Okay.
And in 2006, we're hoping to start a new one, a third Health Summit West in Montreal for the Canadians, basically, and people on the northeastern part of the coast with a French emphasis.
Okay. So you're going to still call that Health Summit West, or that would be
We'll
East?
call that will be Health Summit North.
North, okay.
The one in Oregon is Health Summit West, and the one in Florida is Health Summit.
And people that go there, I mean, they have all kinds of different things they can be trained on in terms of helping people with their health needs, whether it be like today's program, we're going to talk about hypertension,
right.
Or you do, I think, the Breathe Free training, which is a smoking cessation program. By the way, I think it's one of the best, if not the best out there. I mean, it's used in corporations and different things in many churches, and then all kinds of other programs.
That's right. And there are 50 million people still smoking, plus maybe another 3 million teenagers. So it's very needful. We have a program on hypertension, and I wanted to talk about hypertension today because in the African American community, hypertension is probably 3 times more prevalent than in the white community, and about 1 out of every 3 African Americans is hypertensive. They have high blood pressure. That's another term for it. Hypertension is high blood pressure. And the interesting thing is that most people don't realize that they have high blood pressure.
Called the silent killer?
The silent killer. You have it, and you don't know that you have it. And so you have to be... And I thought myself, I thought I was pretty healthful. You know, I'm not overweight. I'm a jogger, exerciser, a vegetarian. And I went to my doctor one year, and he said, "Do you know you have high blood pressure?" I said, "No, I don't have high blood pressure." He said, "Yes, you have high blood pressure, hypertension."
Oh.
And so that's why I'm concerned about it. Because I know, and when I started studying, I found out that there was a history of it in my family.
I see.
So I'm concerned about it.
So how can you know what your risk is?
Well, the risk factors, of course, there you are. High blood pressure, if when they take your blood pressure and it's above 140,
for the top number.
For the top number, which we call the systolic, and the bottom number is the diastolic. If that's above 90, you have full-blown high blood pressure. And then this one is high normal, 130 to 139, and now I think we call it pre-hypertension. They instead of, it's pre-hypertension. You actually have it.
So the top number would be 130 to 139, and the bottom number, the diastolic, would be 85 to 89.
That's right. And then 120 over 80, they say, is normal. But you know, it's not good to be normal in America. You don't want to be normal. You want to be below normal. Normal is not good in the United States. So I actually say 110 over 70 is actually what you want to shoot for, 110 over 70.
Now, these numbers apply to people, of course, that are not taking medications.
That's right. But if you're taking medications, that's your numbers too. If it's high and you have to take medication, that's the number that you shoot for also.
So the complications, I mean, some people say, hey, no big deal, but the complications of hypertension, I think you're going to work us through those.
Yes. High blood pressure is very important because if you have it, you are more prone to strokes and congestive heart failure. See, there's that pressure. That top number is when the blood, when the heart squeezes and pumps. And the second number, the bottom number, the diastolic, is when it relaxes. And if the pressure is too high on those arteries and blood vessels, you can blow out a gasket.
Pop.
You can pop you can pop one in the brain. You can pop one in the heart.
Let's look at the graphic. I think we'll go through these.
Okay.
And we have stroke, congestive heart failure because it backs up on the heart, perhaps.
Exactly. Atherosclerosis, or hardening of the arteries.
Heart attack.
And then heart attacks, which lead aneurysms, kidney disease, disease of the retina, of the eye, blood vessel ruptures, weakened memory and mental abilities. Many people believe that actually what happens with Alzheimer is that you have a lot of little teeny mini strokes caused by high blood pressure. And every time you have a little mini stroke, a little burst aneurysm there, that you have an area of the brain that's cut off. And then you have another little mini stroke, and then another little mini stroke, and pretty soon your brain has been shut down through this high blood pressure.
But that's not really a problem, Alzheimer's, that afflicts African Americans as much as whites. I think you've mentioned that in a previous program with me. What about kidney problems?
Well, that is the problem basically with black people. We have lots of kidney problems. More African Americans are on dialysis machines and suffering from kidneys, and most of it comes because they don't realize that they have high blood pressure, and by the time they realize it, it's too late, and there's a certain degree of kidney failure.
Well, let's look at that graphic on kidney failure. In other words, you're saying here at the left of our screen, moving to the right, what's this mean?
It's normal on the left of the screen, and you can see that as it goes up, you over 159 over 99, you have perhaps 22 times greater chance of having kidney failure.
And by the way, the kidneys all work on this pressure gradient, don't they?
Exactly.
So if it goes up, those are little fine tubules in the kidney, and they just kind of messes them up.
Exactly, and that's a real big problem. And then, of course, we have a graphic here that shows that as it goes up, death.
Morbidity called, yeah.
And morbidity, that's right. So as you go up to 120, this is your systolic. As it starts going up over 180 and so forth, you can see that
mortality rates there on the left, and the amount of blood pressures on the bottom.
That's 170 times more probable that you will have death from it.
So this is not something we should mess around with.
Absolutely not.
Now, I was in when I was going to seminary, I took my practicum in an African-American church. I was wishing I was African-American because I enjoy the preaching, I enjoy the life, the vibrancy of the African-American church. It's just great. I really missed that many times. But there were these ladies there. They were the parish nurses. They had the white gloves on, and afterwards they did a screening in the church because they were so concerned about this.
Well, I do that. I tell them when I'm coming to preach in the church, I said, now afterwards, I'd like for us to do a blood pressure screening. And we have almost in every instance found somebody whose blood pressure is just off the charts, 190, 210 over 150. And we have to take them to the hospital, and they didn't know it. That's the interesting thing. They never even suspected it.
So, maybe you're watching this program and you say, hey, I'm going to take this to heart. Why not do a screening this weekend at your church? You don't have to have Dr. Williams come. You just do it on your own, and you're going to discover, you're going to really help, you're going to save some lives, don't you think, if they do that?
I believe so. Now, I want to mention that what happened with me, my blood pressure in the morning is normal. But when I go to work, and the phones start ringing, and
Okay.
people start visiting you, and you see your desk piled up with stuff, my blood pressure would go up. I went over to see our nurse once, about 1:30. That's when mine starts going up. I went over to see my nurse, and I said, you know, when I took my blood pressure this morning, it was all right. And she said, well, let me take it now. And sure enough,
It was up.
it was up. So what I have done is I've actually bought my own blood pressure machine.
Got that with you.
And I carry it with me. I take it in the morning, and you need to take your blood pressure 4 or 5 times a day because it varies, it fluctuates. Your blood pressure may be up in the morning, but it'll be down at noon. You know, I don't know. You may be different from me.
Well, maybe, does it go up in board meetings?
B-O-R-E-D or what? But so it's good. You can buy this at one of the stores for maybe $25, but it's a good investment to know. Many times when we go to a doctor to have them take our blood pressure, we have what we call the white coat effect. And, you know, you rush to get to the doctor, and you're a little out of breath, and his stethoscope is hanging around his neck and so forth.
Terrifies you.
It's terrifying, so your blood pressure goes up. So it's good to have your own blood pressure machine, especially if you have any tendency toward blood pressure, high blood pressure. You need to know yourself. Because once you get on the medications are not good for you, especially for some of the men. They decrease sexual dysfunction and so forth. So you don't want to get on them if you can.
None of the men are probably interested in that. Okay, reduced, when your blood pressure starts to go down, though, you have a graphic that shows that it starts to reduce the cardiovascular risk, and we want to look at that.
Yes, okay. For the general population, a 3 millimeter decrease in systolic blood pressure would yield 11% fewer strokes, 7% fewer coronary events, and 5% fewer deaths.
Wow,
Now, that's
so
just
that's
taking
big.
it down, a little teeny bit. That's taking it down. Let's say your blood pressure is 140 over 90, you go down to 137. You've done all that you just saw on the screen.
So every point you can bring it down is better for you. And I think you're going to show us some ways to do that. The first one you mentioned to me is oatmeal.
Eat oatmeal, yes.
Oatmeal. Well, let's look at that.
Okay, let's look at the oatmeal slide. 850 people were categorized for the amount of oatmeal they consumed. And you can see
The
that
result here, 1 bowl per day, users had lower blood pressure.
That's right, and lower cholesterol. You hear a lot about blood pressure, and I mean about oatmeal and cholesterol, but it also lowers blood pressure. And the effect was independent of age, weight, and intake of sodium, potassium, and alcohol.
So oatmeal, or what about Cheerios? They're made out of oats. Would that be good?
No, I don't think it has.
Not as good as oatmeal.
But it would have some because it has the oats in it. And I have oatmeal pretty much every day. Now on Sabbath and Sunday I change a little bit. But on 5 days of the week, oatmeal.
I'm hungry enough right now. If you had to break out some oatmeal, we could just take some right now. Now, I don't know. If I took your blood pressure as a result of being on this program, I wonder if it's up or down. We'll take it right afterwards.
Probably up.
Okay. What about salt?
Now, sodium chloride, that's what salt is. The sodium is not good for most people. And so salt does raise blood pressure. And you'll find out that in societies that ingest little or no salt, they don't have hypertension. A teenager's blood pressure is the same as somebody 90 years of age. When diets very low in salt, such as the rice and fruit diet, are given to hypertensive patients, blood pressure often falls and returns to normal. Changing to a diet that is only moderately low in salt produces only small reductions, and salt-induced hypertension has been produced in both man and experimental animals.
Well, we're going to come back and talk about salt some more because, I mean, you need to have some salt, but lower salt is better. And I want to ask you about that when we come back. Hope that you join us.
Have you found yourself wishing that you could shed a few pounds? Have you been on a diet for most of your life, but not found anything that will really keep the weight off? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, then we have a solution for you that works. Dr. Hans Deal and Dr. Eileen Luddington have written a marvelous booklet called Reversing Obesity Naturally, and we'd like to send it to you free of charge. Here's a medically sound approach successfully used by thousands who were able to eat more and lose weight permanently without feeling guilty or hungry through lifestyle medicine. Dr. Deal and Dr. Luddington have been featured on 3ABN, and in this booklet, They present a sensible approach to eating, nutrition, and lifestyle changes that can help you prevent heart disease, diabetes, and even cancer. Call or write today for your free copy of Reversing Obesity Naturally, and you could be on your way to a healthier, happier you. It's absolutely free of charge, so call or write today.
Welcome back. We're talking with DeWitt Williams. He is the health director for the North American Division of Seventh-day Adventists. And in that role, he does training seminars around the country. And you see a lot of health problems. And one of your concerns is African American health because of the silent killer, hypertension, high blood pressure. And you do screenings and you help people with that. We were talking at the break, about how salt is related to increase in blood pressure, but we do need some salt, right or wrong,
We
Doctor?
do need. It's absolutely necessary to have some. So we're not against all salt, but the American diet is so high in it, and soul food. You've heard of soul food?
Oh, man, I've tasted some of it, but maybe I'm sure I don't understand the whole point of it.
Well, soul food is very tasty, but it's high in salt. And, we have barbecued beef, a lot of meats, and almost all meats, have high sodium content. And so you just, we say instead of soul food, there's a DASH diet. I don't know.
DASH diet, yeah, I've heard about that.
Dietary approach to stop hypertension. DASH, dietary approach to stop hypertension. And that's a diet that's low in salt. And that's what we recommend, that if maybe you'll have soul food maybe once a week, but DASH diet the other days of the week.
Dash away from the soul food. So reduced salt, then you have a graphic that shows us that when you reduce it, the blood pressure will go down. Here it is, reduced salt and blood pressure.
This was an actual experiment that they did. 20 patients with average blood pressures of 161/101, that's very high, reduced their salt intake for a year, and after 1 year, the average systolic pressure was lowered by 19 points, systolic by 14, and the blood pressure of 16 of the 20 patients was well controlled by simply restricting their salt intake.
Wow. So this for many people, and a lot of people, there are some people that are not as salt sensitive, but for most people they are, and this is going to really help.
And especially with black people. And the average American diet is high in salt. We don't realize it. And we probably only need about 250 milligrams a day. But here's the average diet, 4,000 milligrams a day. Normal blood pressure, 240,000 milligrams.
Well, 2,400 milligrams a day, it'll still stay normal,
Yes.
okay?
Yes, that's right. High blood pressure, let's see, what is that, 2,000 milligrams a day. So for high blood pressure with congestive heart failure, you need to come down, as you see, you only need about 250 milligrams a day. That's what you need.
So we're just going way over that. What are some of the foods that are high in sodium?
If you buy anything in a box or in a bag
Or a can?
or in a restaurant, you go to a restaurant to eat, let's see some of them, because corn chips, a cup, 163, that's not so bad, but cured ham, look at that one.
Whoa.
And one thing about most foods in a can are going to be high in sodium.
Because the peas, they're frozen, that's 70, but when you put them in a can, they go way up.
Canned foods are always, somebody said because they have to cook them. And when you cook them, you take away some of the flavor, so they add salt in to get back some of that flavor.
Chinese, rice-style Chinese, a whole bunch of sodium.
Look at that.
And then dairy products, of course, have a lot of sodium many times in them.
That's right. Is there another one up there? Let's see the next one.
I don't think they have another one. I think this is the one that kind of gives us a
Okay.
sample, but there's all kinds of them. Even pastries you have down here. Danish pastries, 371. Man, some of these things, they look and they taste good, but we have to be careful.
We have to be careful. And especially, as you say, if you know that you have high blood pressure, you need to take steps to control it. And one of the steps is being very sensitive to salt. Be careful.
Now you're the Health Ministries Director for the North American Division.
Right.
And, Adventists are known for two things. The Sabbath, and also they're known for their health habits.
Yes.
And you want to talk to us a little bit about what the blessing that being a Seventh-day Adventist, or at least following those health principles, could be. You have down here a graphic about the recent article in the National Geographic.
Yeah, I was real pleased with this National Geographic. The cover story was the secrets of living longer. And they featured three groups in here. They featured the Sardinians from Italy, and they featured the Okinawans from Japan, and then they featured the Seventh-day Adventists. And I was just overwhelmed. They print about 22 million copies of this magazine.
A lot of people see that.
A lot of people. And then there was a follow-up on ABC twice, and CNN had Anderson Cooper had a segment on it, and I was just overwhelmed.
In the article, it says that that Seventh-day Adventists are the longest living Americans.
That's right.
And now you told me in your own family you have some pretty long living. I mean, this profiled more look like Caucasians in the article, but African American Seventh-day Adventists live a long time too.
And that's what I like about it. As you say, it didn't come out in the story that this lifestyle affects all cultures, affects all races. A lifestyle, the New Start lifestyle, a plant-based diet. Runs across and brings better health to no matter who follows it.
Now, you told me one of your aunts was 107?
My father lived to be 93, which is long for a man. And I had one, my father's mother's sisters lived to be 99, another lived to be 100, one 104, and one lived to be 107. If she lived another month, she would have been 108.
Whoa!
I hope I have her genes.
Now, you know, you told me how old you are. I don't want to bring that out on television, but you...
I don't mind telling my age. I'll be 67 my next birthday.
You don't even look 67. I mean,
very
I
kind.
look older than you do on the camera, probably.
You look good to me.
Oh, thank you. We'll pay you for that afterwards. But so this what are the things about the Adventist, so-called Adventist lifestyle that can help us with hypertension?
Well, in the slide, we've been following Adventists for many, many years since we've had that. We've had the first 1960 to 1985. We had a study done at Loma Linda called the mortality study, and they compared Seventh-day Adventists with Californians. The American Cancer provided those people, and we were shown to live a longer time. And then we did the first health study, 1974 to 1988, and over 200 scientific studies have been produced showing the results of that. And the results show that we can get 10 years just by following 5 little things.
What are these 5 things?
Regular exercise, eating a plant-based diet, eating small amounts of nuts regularly, maintaining body weight, and then not smoking.
So then this is what you've been talking about: exercise, plant-based diet. All these different things that are also good for hypertension as well.
Good for hypertension. And now, the interesting thing about plant-based diet is very low in salt, very few, very little sodium in a plant-based food, whereas meat foods have lots of sodium, and of course not smoking. We have a graphic here that I want to just show you here. You know, we have all kinds of Adventists. And if you take the Adventists who don't follow those 5 habits, you can see that there's a 10
big difference. The better,
10-year.
Yeah, the ones that do better, the best is 87 years for men, 88 for women, but when they do poor, it drops 10 years, doesn't it?
That's right. And we classify the better as those who are following those 5 habits: exercising, keeping the body weight, plant-based diet, and so forth. So a 10-year difference can come about just by following those 5 habits. A lot of people were a little bit concerned when they saw the one about nuts. And somebody said, well, you were a little bit nuts there. But we're finding out that nuts actually produce the largest lifestyle difference. Adding nuts into your diet, it lowers your blood pressure. Men who eat nuts 5 times a week have less heart disease. There are all kinds of chemicals, all kinds of vitamins, all kinds of phytochemicals. That's what I meant, phytochemicals in nuts and vitamins in there. So I don't know, are you eating your nuts at least 5 times a week?
You know, when I was working as a nurse in the hospital a number of years ago, you know what they called me?
What is
they
that?
called me a peanut because I brought nuts every time. They said, you're one of those peanuts.
Oh.
And now I see that was a compliment. Back then I thought, maybe that's not so nice, you know. But
Well, the study actually was talking about tree nuts.
Tree nuts.
More so the peanuts are actually...
They were just calling me a peanut. I was eating tree nuts, but they were calling me a peanut.
Okay.
But now you guys that were calling me that, you can see. That was really good, what I was doing.
That was good, yeah. So nuts, add them into your diet.
Okay, then you said that there's one of the discoveries they made in the Adventist Health Study was one of the first times ever they made a discovery. I think you have a graphic on that.
On water?
Yeah.
5 glasses of water a day. And
does that help with hypertension?
It helps with hypertension. Hypertension, the blood can get thick, especially during the night. Most people don't drink water at night. When they try to stop cutting, they want to start cutting down on water before they go to bed so they don't have to get up. And so actually in the morning, your blood is quite thick. And most heart attacks occur probably before 10 o'clock in the morning because the blood is thick. Dehydrated. And so when you get up in the morning, you ought to drink 2 glasses of warm water to kind of thin the blood out. The heart doesn't have to pump so hard. It doesn't.
You know, what you're saying is exactly right. When I worked in an emergency department, most of the heart attacks, 7 to 11 a.m. People
That's
just coming in the ambulances, all heart attacks, all dehydrated. That's good advice. Hey, look, you know.
And then they eat that big breakfast of bacon and eggs and fried biscuits or whatever.
Boom, they end up in the emergency room. It's good for the business of the hospital, but if you want to put the hospitals out of business, drink that water. Hey, thank you so much for spending time to be with us. You know, as the Health Ministries Director, you train people. I want to mention those summits again, and they can always go to Plusline or they can go to the website for the North American Division, and they can figure out what's happening, how they can get trained.
Could we just put in a little plug about the Adventist Health Study too?
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
Okay.
Look,
that's going on, and a lot of our members, we were trying very hard to get 125,000 people. But
now, I don't know where that's going to be when you see the program, but there's always ongoing studies of Adventists because of the benefits we see. And no matter when you see this program, just, look on the website, call the General Conference, call the Loma Linda School of Health, whatever, and you can be involved. And it doesn't matter if you're doing everything right, does it?
No, you can have whatever your lifestyle. That's how we compare. We have Adventists who are not vegetarians, and we have some Adventists who are vegans, and we have some Adventists who eat only clean meats, and then we have some Adventists who eat anything.
They've fallen off the wagon.
Fallen off the wagon, and the only way we can find out that is to compare.
Right.
And so we want, and especially African Americans, we have a cohort of 45,000 particularly put into this new Adventist Health Study, and we're not doing too well in getting the surveys returned to us.
So if you have not signed up, now's the time to sign up. Hey, thank you so much, first of all, for providing what you do at the division level for health and beating that drum. But more importantly, as I talk with you, you've taken the message that you preach and you put it into your own life.
Thank you very much. It's a joy for me to be here.
And we're glad that you've been here with us. And we're glad that you've been here with us. And if you haven't become a part of that study, become a part of it now. Follow these habits, and I know you'll have health that lasts for a lifetime.